know that trade unions very concerned about easing of the lockdown measures in the workplace, but of course the economy needs to get back on its feet, doesn't it? So how do you strike the right balance?
Well, this is the very question, and I think we've been calling on the government for some time to set out what we've called an exit strategy. It looks like they're going to do so at the weekend, and I think that just as there was pretty well consensus going into lockdown, we should try to get a consensus coming out, because I sense that people are really worried about lifting of lockdown. They're really worried about going back to work. They need a high level of reassurance. And that's why if we can have a national consensus, I think that will give a degree of confidence. The point that trade unions have raised is safety at work. And there was a consultation document the government put out last weekend, which was pretty vague, and it needs strengthening. And that's why one of the principles I've set out today is a national safety standard. I think people will want to know, if I'm going back to work, is it a safe environment? What's been done about social distancing? You know, what are the hand washing facilities? If I need protective equipment, am I going to get it? Yeah. It's that degree of reassurance.
Well, there's an issue here, isn't there, Keir Starmer? Because even doctors, medics on the front line, the people actually dealing with the virus and with the patients who are shedding the virus have not, in all cases, had the PPE that they need. It took far too long for care workers to get the PPE that they need. Still issues getting it to the front lines. Yeah. How on earth are we going to be able to reassure workers who are asking for PPE that they're going to get it?
I completely agree with you about the problems we've had with the front line, whether that's health or social care, and we've been challenging the government hard on that. And there are still problems. We know that. But this is not just a reassurance exercise for those going back to work. It's essential for the safety of the nation. If you don't have the protective equipment, and that means that people get infected, we're going to be right back where we started. So this is a sort of luxury item, nice to have. If we can't get the right environment at work, the risk is, firstly, people won't have the confidence to come back. That's not a good place to be, and we need to give them that confidence. But secondly, whether it's social distancing, hand washing, or in some cases protective equipment of some sort, the whole point behind that is not just to reassure people, it's actually to keep the infection rate down. Yeah. So the last thing we want, and I actually think the government's probably in exactly the same place on this, the last thing we want is a return to work, which means that the infection isn't under control. So no. I very much doubt there's an issue, but in principle, between the political parties on this. No, it's just common sense.
Of course, nobody wants that. One of the things that you are clear about, though, you're supporting the wearing of face masks in public. I wonder, do you think that the government's advice on this has been wrong? Because they've certainly said that there's very, very weak evidence to suggest there's any positive quality to actually wearing the mask. We've talked about it endlessly on the programme, but you're very much in support of it.
They've said two different things on this. I don't know whether their advice has changed, but this is why we need the debate. I mean, it's slightly frustrating. I've been calling for an exit strategy discussion for some considerable period, because these are the things we need to discuss. And if it is to be face masks, then we need a plan in place to get the right up to the right people. And what we don't want, of course, is a sort of rush on face masks that then makes it difficult for them on the front line.
And that's the big fear, isn't it? Do you yourself wear a face mask when you go out and about at the moment?
Well, I don't go out and about very much, but when I do, I don't, because I'm in Parliament. But I'm not out and about very much, to be perfectly honest, because I'm staying at home. And I'm from home right now speaking to you.
But you do. But I imagine you go out occasionally. You have to go into shops,
supermarkets, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that the evidence is different, isn't it? But if you're out in an open outdoor space, and if you're in a more enclosed space, public transport, for instance, I know the Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, would like people to wear face masks on public transport. Is that something that you would be urging the Prime Minister tomorrow to put into place?
I will be urging. I want a discussion with the Prime Minister. What I don't want, I mean, and this is what I mean by a national consensus, is I think what people, as I say, they saw a national consensus going into lockdown. I think they'd like to see a high level of agreement coming out. So I want that discussion with the Prime Minister. I've had a couple of discussions with him already on my own and a couple of discussions with the other opposition leaders. So we need to try and see whether we can agree what is needed, either getting to work, of course, or at work. But there are other areas as well that we need to think ahead. There's work on a vaccine, which everybody is in support of course.
Undoubtedly.
But what's the plan for rolling that out on a mass scale as quickly as possible, and where are the priorities? Again, I'm not seeking, in a sense, I'm not seeking a rival set of plans to the government, because I don't think that's right. What I am seeking is, can we get these principles in place so we can all get behind them?
And work together. I mean, one of the concerns people will think this morning is we want this exit plan as soon as possible. We understand that Boris Johnson will be revealing some of that, or how it might look on Sunday, but you're suggesting you want a national consensus on what the next steps would be. Surely that would delay that exit plan and would put us further down the line before anything could actually start being released.
I don't think so. The government put out a consultation at the weekend. It was open just for a few hours. I think it should have been a better consultation than that. They need to engage. They have engaged the trade unions. They need to do that more, because actually the trade unions, if they are satisfied and able to reassure their members that it's safe to go back to work, that is a fantastic supportive thing for them to be able to do.